In the mathematical literature, an encoding or coding is a mapping of an arbitrary set A into the set of finite sequence over some alphabet B, while the inverse mapping is called a decoding. So, hello everyone, I am Giselle Maniacap, your interviewer for today. So, are everyone is ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's start. Let's start by Romar Nocum, followed by Miss Itchano, Miss Magdaraog, Miss Maniacap, Miss Hapson, and last but not the least, Miss Baer. Please follow me inside the office. So, good morning, Mr. Nocum. So, this is your question. Could you tell me about your concept about the encoding and decoding and the errors and the error correction?
The concept of encoding and decoding is way simple. When you say encoding, it is when you input something in sequence that will result in your desired output, while decoding is the reverse. It is when your desired output will be decoded and will turn back to the original sequence. The concept of errors and error correction is somehow connected to the concept of the encoding and decoding. Errors are those who were identified as errors just like encoded ones, while error correction is related to the decoding since it can fix or reconstruct the errors to its original data in your desired way.
Good morning, Miss Itchano. So, this is your question. How did you hear about the repetition code and the checksum?
One of the most fundamental error connecting codes is the repetition code. The aim of the repetition code is to simply repeat the message numerous times in order to transmit a message over a noisy channel that may contaminate the transmission in a few spots. A checksum is a string of numbers and letters that act as a fingerprint for a file against which later comparisons can be made to detect errors in the data. They are important because we use them to check files for integrity.
Next question is, what is your understanding about the error detecting codes?
My understanding about error detecting codes are a series of numbers produced by a particular techniques for detecting faults in data sent across computer networks.
Good morning, Miss Magdaraog. So, this is your question. How the structure of Hamming code being helpful?
Hamming codes are efficient error correcting binary codes. They are used to detect errors that helps in recovering the binary word. The basic concept of Hamming code is to add parity bits to the data stream in order to ensure that the data received is correct or matches the input. These bits are sent in such a way that they can detect and correct errors in the data stream. For example, how to encode a message in Hamming code. So, the process used by the standard to encode the message includes the following three steps. Step 1, calculation of the total number of redundant bits. So, if the message contains M or the number of data bits, R stand for the number of redundant bits are added to it so that MR or the number of data bits and number of redundant bits is able to indicate at least M plus R plus 1 different states. So here M plus R indicates location of an error in each of number of data plus number of redundant or M plus R bit positions, and one additional state indicates no error. Step 2 is positioning the redundant. So the redundant bits placed at bit positions of powers of 2. For example, 1, 2, 4, A16, etc. They are referred in the rest of text as at position 1, at position 2, at position 4, at position 8, and so on. Step 3. Calculating the value of each redundant bit. So, the redundant bits are parity bits. A parity bit is an extra bit that makes the number of first either even or odd. So, the two types of parity are first, the even parity. Here are the total number of bits in the message is made even. Then second is the odd parity. Here are the total number of bits in the message is made odd. So therefore, each redundant bit is calculated as the parity. Generally, even parity based upon its bit position. It covers all bit positions whose binary representation includes a 1 in the first position.
Good morning, Miss Manyakap. So, here is your question. Do you prefer using redundant bits? Why? Thank you for question, ma'am. So, my answer is yes, I prefer because redundant bit solution are usually less expensive, easier to implement, and easier to manage. Note that replication as a part of redundant solution has numerous functions other than availability. Redundant data that protects a storage area against data loss in the event of a hard disk failure. Forward error correction work by adding a redundant bits to a bit stream to help the decoder detect and correct some transmission errors without the need for retransmission. The name forward stems from the fact that the flow of data is always in the forward direction. Good morning, Miss Hobson. So this is your question. It is necessary to have a methods in redundant bits. Why?
Yes, ma'am. It is necessary to have methods and redundant bits because it is important that we are following the correct format in order to avoid adding unnecessary information to redundant bits, and that we will know how to solve the problems step by step and to prevent making mistakes or avoid errors, and we will get the right numbers or codes that we are looking for in our redundant bits.
Hello, Miss Baer, our last applicant. So, here is your question. How important to have a solution in redundant bits?
Solution is an assignment of values to the unknown variables that makes the equality in the equation true. So solution is important because by using a solution to a problem, we are able to solve and know what is the answer on a certain problem that we are solving. Because of a solution, we can easily look back to our answers on the problem.
Next one is, what is your concept about the repetition?
So when we say repetition, it is a process or act of repeating a action that has been already said or already written. Repetition is usually used in poetry and songs, but repetition can also be used in mathematics. Repetition happens when numbers of a certain problem or data is being repeated multiple times.
Having a general understanding and awareness of encoding and decoding process that occurs in all communication should help senders and receivers of message pay closer attention to the intended information of the messages and avoid misunderstanding. Okay, thank you for your time. So we'll just call you if you're hired and there is a vacant. Okay, thank you.